Enough rest?
Yes.
You're still catching up from the day before, the night before. How was your journey? Did you find it
Very hard.
very hard journey, isn't it? Maybe next time we should take you on the Eurostar or something. We can just put the price up by about £300. But
£300.
yeah, I think it's 150 each way, isn't it?
What about airport?
Airport, yeah. Couple of £100, but yeah, airport could work. So, yeah, it depends what you're willing to pay for. Do you want to put this away, Vishnu Prabhu? Vishnu, the main man. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, we are talking about Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was of course a pure devotee of the Lord. So we're going to talk about Prabhupada. The deities are wonderful, aren't they?
Yes.
The deities are wonderful. If you think about it, we wouldn't really have access to any of these deities if it weren't for Prabhupada, especially in the West, isn't it? I've been to other places. In the UK, I took my wife once to some other temples, and it was her first introduction to Hinduism. The only connection she's had with Krishna consciousness is through ISKCON. You know, she was in Reading and other places, and I took her to some other temples in UK just to kind of give her the lowdown of, you know, what Hinduism is like. And she saw it and she thought it was quite good. My wife is a Hindu in white skin. She, you know, she kind of loves these kind of things. Oh, but she kind of said, you know, when we went to these places, you know, the different temples and stuff, she was like, it's nice, but you don't get the same feeling, you know, when you see the deities. And when you see the deities in a Hare Krishna temple, it's different. You can see how much love devotees have put into like looking after the deities, you know, dressing them, feeding them every day, and it's very, very different. You don't feel the same, and we wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for Srila Prabhupada, because he brought it to the West. So I thought we could talk about something about purity, and something about purity and Srila Prabhupada, and also purity and us. How does it work? So I thought we would make it a slightly different kind of seminar. So instead of me just speaking and you listening, or me asking questions, you asking me questions at the end, I thought we'd do it slightly differently. I thought I share a few things, you share a few things, I ask a few questions, you ask a few questions, and we keep it interactive, and I learn a few things from you, you learn a few things from me, if anything, and we sort of churn the nectar of Krishna consciousness like that, isn't it? Instead of a one-sided download, let's keep it download and upload. Okay, both ways. Good. So now, my first question to you, to start off with questions, is how many of you here are pure devotees?
What do you mean by pure?
Oh, that's a very good question. Who said that? Look at you. Why are you sitting at the back of the class? But you're not really chanting, because you answered that question, so you...
She said she can shout.
You can shout. Sorry. I heard chant.
Oh my God, what kind of question is this?
It's more like a, hearing slip. Yeah, some people chant, isn't it? Chant while they're in class. Some people chant while they're in kirtan. I even know some people who chant while you're driving. The worst thing about chanting while driving is if you manage to chant attentively, you're dead. It means you're not paying attention to your driving. So you can't win. If you drive attentively, which you have to, then you're not chanting attentively. It's sort of like, okay, I'll just somehow do my rounds, but let me drive. But if you chant attentively, it's boom. Game over. So, yeah, Hare Krishna, good. It's a good way to die, but maybe we're not ready for that yet. Yeah, so what do you mean by purity? So we'll talk about that as well. Now, do you think, my question to you, question number 2, do you think it is possible for all of us to be pure devotees? So who says yes? Raise your hand.
Is it possible for us to be pure devotees?
Yeah. Okay, some of you raised their hand. I think once Nishkinchana put his hand up, I think a few more hands went up. Yeah, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. So.
Process.
Huh?
He's an influencer.
He's an influencer, isn't he? He needs to be more on social media. Yeah. Okay, so you think it is possible for us to become pure? Some of you don't think so. Okay, who doesn't think it's possible for us to be pure devotees?
Yeah, define pure.
Exactly.
You have to define pure. Okay, good point. Why don't I ask you, what is your definition of pure? Like anybody from the audience, not just two of you. What do you think your definition of pure is? Purity in Krishna consciousness. What does it mean to you?
For me, yeah, and this is why I said that no, I cannot become. It's because I think for becoming pure, I have to stop being so questioning that I am normally as a person.
Okay.
I have to accept a lot more in terms of what's going on, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, and how I devote myself to Krishna.
Okay.
Which won't happen, and therefore I don't think I'll become a pure devotee.
Okay, so you're saying your understanding of purity is you have to be more accepting,
Yes.
more surrendered, instead of questioning. Okay, very interesting. We'll come back to that. What else? Lady in the blue. What's your name?
Smita.
Smita. And what's your name, Mataji?
Nidhi.
Nidhi. Nidhi. Okay, Smita.
Yes, I think pure. We are born pure. We are born as God anyway. Then we have the Maya enveloping us.
Okay.
So those pure qualities of God, blissfulness,
Yeah.
love, unconditional love,
Okay.
selfless service, that's purity. So once
Okay.
we remove that Maya,
Yeah.
with the 6 qualities, lust, greed, all the 6
Yeah.
qualities, then we are there.
Okay.
Because that's how I see it.
Okay, very good point. So you're saying that we have purity, we are naturally pure,
Yeah.
but we are covered by certain qualities, and once we remove those qualities, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Fair point. Fair point. Any other definitions of what pure means to you? We got 2: more surrendered and accepting, and we're already pure. We just need to be free from certain negative things. What else? Yes, Mataji.
Like at its highest concentration when it's not being diluted.
Okay, and what is the concentration of?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Okay, so means if you have pure knowledge, you're pure. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm
Pure
saying
kno-
that you can have knowledge, but if you don't give it correctly and you give your own version, then it's not pure.
Okay, so that's fine. But how can you be pure? Like purity according to you. So you're saying that if I speak everything that is from the scriptures without diluting, then it's pure, and then you're pure. Is that what you're saying?
So you have to do sadhana,
Okay.
chanting, and all those
Okay.
other things too.
So if you do sadhana, chanting, if you follow the practices of Krishna consciousness, then you could be pure.
You can get there.
You can get there. Okay, cool. Okay, anybody else? Any other? Yes, Mataji. What's your name? Divya Drishya. And I know you, Anita. Yeah. Divya Drishya. Yeah. Mataji.
I think in purity would be being a relationship with Krishna, a pure relationship with Krishna, and I would say Krishna selflessly instead of saving yourself.
Okay. Okay, very good. So in a pure relationship, you are serving Krishna to satisfy Krishna rather than to satisfy ourselves, isn't it? Okay, good. So we have, one more. What's your name? Sona.
Yeah, I would echo that, but add that it's only Krishna, a relationship with Krishna, not everything else that we have in life which we're doing as well. So it's that spiritual
Only Krishna.
relationship and not the other material.
That's interesting because when we're living, we kind of do have to have other relationships, isn't it? What do you do with them? Like, if you're a man, then you have a wife, or unless you're a brahmachari, then you don't. Oh, there's people on this side. Sorry, I'm not trying to ignore you.
We're sitting in the back. That's
So we do have other relationships. We do have parents. We have children, but somehow we kind of have to serve them, isn't it? We can't. So how do you find the balance? But somehow, if you can focus just on Krishna, then that's purity. Good definition. Okay. So yes. Remind me your name again.
Russian.
Russian. Not Russian. Russian.
Russian.
Russian.
The Russian language.
Russian.
I am
Don't worry,
from.
we know his name. He
Russian.
doesn't know his name.
We speak Russian.
Well, Vishnu is saying Russian.
Yeah, Russian.
Not Russian.
I don't know.
It's not Russian. Okay, Russian. Yes.
Russian.
Now everybody knows his name.
You may not know anybody else on this trip, but you know Russian.
Even the deities know his name.
I'm finished. Okay, fine. So the word pure is quite conflicting sometimes because I align it with the word perfect, and I don't
Okay.
believe there's such thing as perfection. I believe we can strive towards perfection, but I also believe that everything can be imperfectly perfect. So I believe it starts with intention. So, for example, it depends where you live. If you're living in an environment like this, or an ashram, or the manor, you're not tainted as much as from the material, people, experiences, and inputs. So there's going to be different obstacles and challenges to navigate through.
Okay.
And then also vice versa, because even if you are, then there's going to be still within the environment, there's different humans with different emotions and thoughts and feelings, and your own as well. So, it's been echoed, but the Maya and the desires of life, I believe they're also placed here to challenge us, to test us, because if there was none of that, then there'd be no striving.
That's right.
And austerity, to kind of add the depth of layers to our character and our spirits and souls. So I believe it starts with your intention towards what you're doing, intention to helping another person, intention to serving Krishna or devotees and so on. Because sometimes I think when we're trying to strive for something, we can lose the intent. Like you said about chanting.
Yeah.
If you're just chanting when you're driving,
Yeah.
you're kind of trying to do it to fit everything in and tick a box, which
Yeah.
we all do sometimes.
Yeah.
And we lose the intention. Why are we really doing this?
Yeah.
What is it for? What are we trying to become?
Okay, so there's a lot of things to unpack there. But basically you're saying our intention is very, very important. You also said that there's no, you sort of link purity with perfection, but it's not possible to be perfect, but wherever we are, that imperfection is okay, because everybody's perfect with their own imperfections. Something along those lines?
If they're striving
If towards
a better
perfection.
person, and then there's obviously the 4 principles of what you shouldn't do, for example. Then it's just like there's so many inputs in the material world.
Yeah.
Naturally, they can affect your mind, your body, your chemicals, your desires, and these different things.
Okay.
It's trying to reduce them and become more closer to your true self.
Yeah.
Otherwise we will be swayed and tainted.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good few points. Yes.
Can I just quickly add to what brother said, yeah?
Yes.
Just remember, the purity of thought,
Yeah.
where the intention comes in word
Yeah.
and deed.
Yeah.
That always important, they all link together. So to be in unity with all that, to be in harmony with all that,
Yeah.
and that will help you to focus with Krishna consciousness or whatever. So when you're working, when you're driving, whatever, at the back of your mind, you have that chanting or whatever going on because you're conscious. Not that I'm there, but that is the desire,
That is the goal.
intention.
You're conscious of your
To
goal.
be conscious all the time.
Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, intention is very, very important, isn't it? Intention is almost as important as the activity. So, Mataji, just one more thing.
Yeah, I'm just going to the Mataji. She just said by chanting and doing austerities, and also I want to add to it. If you follow the instructions your Guruji Maharaj has given you, like Srila Prabhupada has followed the instructions of his Guru Maharaj and did all those austerities like chanting and following all that leads us to purity.
Okay, so Mataji is saying that if you follow the instructions of your spiritual master and the instruction that Srila Prabhupada has given you, then that will lead to purity. Okay, so we got quite a few definitions now of purity in the room. Is there any one, or is it all of them? I don't know. Let's step back a little bit. Let's go back one step. See, everything starts with the soul's desire for happiness, isn't it? Like even Prabhupada said this, that everybody wants to be happy. That is everyone's main goal. And people are trying to find happiness in this world in various different ways. That is what's happening. Everybody out there, whatever they're doing, they really believe that this is what will make them happy. Okay, that is why there are so many, and it leads to so many different people doing different things, because they really believe that this thing, if I do, this will make me the happiest. Because no one wakes up in the morning and thinks, right, I'm going to make a schedule and write down all the things that make me miserable today, because that is my goal. So make a miserable list. No, we want to be happy. So what we really believe is going to make us happy. There's always a belief behind everything. Even somebody who does not have so much passion, who's just lying around doing nothing all day, they also really believe that the less I do, the happier I am. That's why they're just lying around not doing anything. But there's always a belief that people think will make them happy. Now, a lot of people, unless they have spiritual knowledge, think that happiness lies in material things. So whether it's achieving something, which may be in the mode of passion, or maybe it's just like not really doing much, which is in the mode of ignorance, or maybe something in a mode of goodness, or maybe something by satisfying your senses. There's different versions of happiness. So in the Vaishnava literatures, it said there are mainly 4 types of people, as far as happiness is concerned. Some people are called para sukha sukhi. Okay? I am happy when I see others happy. Isn't it? You met people like that? I'm happy when I see other people happy. So they like to keep other people happy, they give in charity, they like to help others because they want to see other people happy. That is good. Then there are also para dukkha sukhi. Okay, I take pleasure in other people's suffering. Okay, I really love it when other people suffer because it makes me feel really good about it. Sometimes your happiness is somebody else's suffering, especially if you're a dentist.
I think dentists make people.
You're a dentist, are you?
I'm not. My
it was defending. It was a joke. It's okay.
My son's wife is doing so.
Your wife is a dentist.
No, my son's wife.
Your son's wife.
But she's so. I mean.
happy. She's so happy all the time. How is? Why are dentists so happy?
3-4 hours.
The gas that they give.
Yeah. So
they take away our suffering.
Yeah, they do. But before that, they give you a little bit of suffering first.
To make you better.
Yeah. To make you better. Yeah. Okay. So para dukkha sukhi. But sometimes people, there are people who exploit things, and we won't get into that so much. It's happened over the centuries. It's really funny. Like, just as a side note, this one I don't know if you know Leela Jagannath from the Manor.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, he's from East London. He's English. Okay, but he hates spicy food. He can't have spicy food at all. It's like he can't. And I often joke with him. I tell him, like, look, your ancestors, when traveling all around the world, fighting wars, starting empires for hundreds of years for spice, and now you don't want it. They will, the whole slave trade, so many things for hundreds and hundreds of years for spice. And how can you say I don't want spice now? I can't get it when English people say, oh, it's too spicy for me. Why? Why did you have to spend hundreds of years to come to this stage? I don't want spice. Anyway, I don't know why I got into that. It's your fault.
That means they're wasting time.
So anyway, then moving on. There's also para sukha dukhi. When you see somebody else happy, you suffer. Sometimes we see somebody else is doing so good, and it just makes you miserable. Oh my God, they're doing so good. You get envious, you get jealous. Why are they doing so good and I'm not? They bought a new car, and I'm still stuck with my old car. Things like that. So, but it is said there are also para dukkha dukhi. You really feel unhappy when you see somebody else suffering. Okay, so the first category is good, para sukhi sukhi. You're really happy when you see others happy. But it said the highest stage of realization is one actually feels suffering by seeing other people suffer. And it said a Vaishnava, a pure devotee is somebody who is paradukha dukhi, who is suffering because he sees other people suffering. And we don't really understand that unless we get to that stage. We can't really comprehend it. And to be honest, I'm not at that stage. I can't really. In theory, I can understand, okay, people are suffering, da 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 da. And you make a few philosophical points and then you get on with your life. But somebody who really suffers by seeing other people suffering, that is a real Vaishnava. And it's very difficult to understand. How can you suffer? You can understand, you can empathize with somebody suffering, but how can you suffer because of somebody else's suffering? But that's how a Vaishnava is defined, paradukha dukhi. And I think Prabhupada was like that, a highest caliber of Vaishnava. Because if you think about it, Prabhupada, like Nishkinchana Prabhu was explaining, he didn't have any reason to come to the West. He was in Vrindavan. I mean, most of us, how many of you want to go to Vrindavan? Okay, you want to go Vrindavan, right? We're all booking holidays every year. I book my trip to India, Vrindavan, let's book the flights early so you get a cheaper rate. You fly with Air India. There's a trick actually, if you want to fly to India and you want to save money, fly from Paris or fly from somewhere in Europe. It's a lot cheaper. I know one of my friends did it. He was flying from London and it was £1,200. Remember at some point, direct flights to India. He flew to Paris, booked an Airbnb, stayed there for 3 days, chilled out, and then flew out from Paris to India. It was 450 quid. And his whole holiday, including his Paris holiday, came to £700. Anyway, this is not a money saving expert.
That sounds good for travel.
But we all want to go to India. We want to have our time. When we get older, we want to buy our apartment in Vrindavan because we want to go and retire there. That's what a lot of people think as well. But Prabhupada was already there. Okay, he was in Vrindavan. And I mean, if you put it, to put it in modern terms, he was chilling. He had a good life in Vrindavan. He had a nice room in the Radha Damodar temple. He didn't have to worry about most things. He was in the sannyas order of life. He didn't have family to worry about. He's there serving his deities, writing books, chanting his rounds. He's in Vrindavan. What else would you want? This is the life we all aspire for, isn't it? Secretly, we all aspire. Damn, got a family to look after. No, it's not. Don't. I'm just echoing the thoughts of people who think, because a lot of people say, oh man, I would love to go and live in Vrindavan, but I've got a family, I've got kids, Prabhupada already had all of that. Why did he have to come to the West? Give all that up to go live in New York, in the Bowery, which is the lowest of the low. And Nishkinchana Prabhu gave you a description yesterday of what it was like in the Bowery. It was such a difficult place to be. Why? What's the need? What's the need? A lot of people even told Prabhupada, why would you want to go to the West? It's Sumati Moraji, what she actually said? Swamiji, you're going to die there. I said, why would you want to go to the West? You're going to die. But Prabhupada, instructions of the Guru are the most important thing for him. And he said, no, my spiritual master has said this, so I'm going to go. And I want to save all these people. When Prabhupada was in England, and Prabhupada had a great sense of humor as well. When he was in England, one of the reporters asked him, they said, Swamiji, why have you come here? And he said, well, I've come here to give you what you had forgotten to take. Because the British came to India and took so many things, isn't it? They took thousands of tons of gold, and they took, these jewels and that, and a lot of things.
Spice.
And spice. So they took a lot of things. But Prabhupada said, but you forgot the most important thing. You took everything, but the thing that was the most valuable thing, you forgot. What sort of a thing is that? So I'll come to give you what you've forgotten.
You can't put it in a bowl.
You can't, yeah, that's right. You can't. So he said, so I'll come to teach you. And so that's why Prabhupada came to the West. So he's paradukha dukhi. Prabhupada came to the West. But going back to our earlier point, everybody is looking for happiness, right? Now, so we are seeking happiness in this world, and we're wandering all these different, different life forms, and we're trying to be happy. Sometimes we try to be happy as a dog. Sometimes we try to be happy as a pig. Sometimes we think, food's going to make me happy, eating lots of food, so I'm going to be a pig. Sometimes we think, okay, flying's going to make me happy. I love flying. Then you be a bird. Just like 5 minutes ago, there was a bird trapped in here. Just flew into the door. And just flying around. Anyway, it went out. It was in there. Yeah. So we're there, and according to our desire and our karma, we get a certain body, isn't it? It's not just your desire. You don't always get what you desire. You get what you desire, but you get it in a way that your karma allows you. Okay? If you got very, very good karma, and you got a desire to fly, you'll be like, Richard Branson with your own private island and your private jet, and you just fly everywhere. Anywhere you want to go, you jump in your private jet and fly. If you got bad karma and you've got a really strong desire to fly, you'll be a mosquito. So you can still keep flying everywhere. Krishna fulfills your desire, but in a slightly different way. So we're wandering through all these different species of life, trying to be happy, and the reason we keep changing because the previous thing didn't work, isn't it? You tried it as a mosquito, it didn't work. So then you go and try it as a sparrow, it didn't work. You tried as an eagle, it didn't work. You tried as a dog, as a pig, as different species of life. Nothing worked. Now you're trying it out in the human form of life. But the good thing is, in the human form of life, you have the consciousness to think that, hang on, I've tried all these things and it didn't work, so let me try something else. Whereas other animals can't. So that makes a distinction. So it is said in the human form of life, we need to make an effort to try something different at least. Try something different. Some people do try something different. There are a lot of people I've seen who are very, 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 philanthropic. They like to give, they like to serve, but they haven't really got the knowledge. They haven't really got the knowledge or the understanding. I was watching a documentary about Bill Gates. Okay, Bill Gates, it's on Netflix. Okay. Anyway, it's not that interesting. I just watched the first 20 minutes. But I thought, what I found interesting was Bill Gates has got this whole Melinda and, is his wife's name Melinda? Melinda and some foundation he's got.
Moderna.
Moderna,
I think they're on Moderna or something.
Something. Anyway, he's got this foundation where he realized that he's made enough money from, investments and all of that. So now he needs to give. And he goes around, helping poor countries establish like sanitation systems and giving them with water, and he does like literally billions of pounds worth of stuff, billions of dollars, millions and billions of dollars. So he's very generous. He's a good guy. He's like really trying to help. He's made his empire. He's done his thing. He's really trying to help. And then the interviewer was just questioning him. So what's, just like small talk questions. So what's your favorite food? Hamburger. What's your favorite animal to eat? Cow. And I'm like thinking he's got some weird mix of karma there, he's very philanthropic, he's giving millions and billions, but then, he's eating cows. So, you see, you may have a very good heart, but you may not have the knowledge. So you're paradukha dukhi, you want to help others, but then it also needs to be done in a certain way. You see, so that knowledge and understanding is also very, very important. So, people are trying in different ways to be happy, and he's also trying in his own way, because now he's realized that by giving, I become happy. But I think in the Vedas it says that real happiness is when you come to the spiritual platform, and when you become pure. When you become pure. We're coming to purity in a second, and purity and Prabhupada and all of that. So it is important for us to go on a spiritual path and try out spiritual happiness and how that works. So now we're not going to get into the details of all of that, but it is important for us to make that search. Now, few things I wanted to mention is that, let me ask you another question. Now, lady in blue at the back, Smita mentioned that how we're all intrinsically pure, isn't it, as spirit soul, but we're all just covered. Is that? Do you think that's true? What do you think? Or do you think we get contaminated by association in this world? What do you think?
I think it's like almost like the energy, the light that it can come in. Like when people say so this person has sold their soul, for example, because they've compromised their values, their spirituality.
Yeah.
But the more you move towards your intuition, like Krishna,
Yeah.
and and through the principles and chanting and the knowledge, then that light and your essence, your aura starts to emit more.
Okay.
So I don't think I think it's the purity is infinite.
Okay.
It can become more dim or brighter.
Okay. So something may obstruct your purity, but your purity is the same regardless.
Essence is pure and
Yeah. Okay. Smita, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, we are pure, but we do, when we are born,
Yeah.
we do come with the layers of vasanas, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's the vasanas that will then fructify, later on.
Yeah.
But the other things will help you, chanting and all that to minimize those.
Yeah.
But we are pure, our essence is pure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they see if you look at the child, up to 3 years old or something,
Yeah.
he's just pure bliss. You look at the joy on his face and,
Yeah.
but then slowly we get contaminated.
Yeah. Especially after, once they start talking
Yeah.
and once they start moving, out of, on the first on 4s, then on 2, that's when all the problems start, isn't it? That's
So
when-
probably is that mixed up with innocence and pure?
We are mixing it up, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, because children are technically, in theory, they're very, very selfish. And I think the journey of us growing up is to go from selfishness to selflessness. And for some of us it takes longer, and we grow up and we're still selfish. But I think inherently children are very, very, not in a bad way, they're innocent, but they're selfish at the same time, because
Doesn't mean they're pure.
doesn't mean they're pure. Yeah, you're right, we're getting there. But the point is that the soul, who we are, is always pure. Okay, the soul is always pure, but like Roshan, everybody knows his name, Roshan, but like Roshan nicely explained, that we covered. And let me just give you an example. Okay, there was a king in Italy, and Italy is very famous for its different sort of artists and sculptors and people who do, those kind of things. So once he decided to have a competition to find out who was the best artist, so he invited different people and he gave them all a block of black marble. Okay, about 20 different people, and then he gave them all a block of black marble, and he told them, you have to take this away, and then you have to come back in 2 weeks with an elephant. Okay, so do your thing with this block of marble. So they go away. One of those artists is also Michelangelo. Michelangelo, as in the sculptor, not from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In case you were thinking pizzas.
Pizza pasta.
Did you watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? It's like the classic, isn't it?
I don't know if the cultural references are... I don't know if everyone here got the culture.
Did you not
I'm looking at Nidhi here. She did no
Do you know nothing about Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael, Master Splinter, Shredder?
No. Because she's from Shiliguri. She's not from London. So.
She what? Prabhu, I was born in Mysore, man, and I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Every day, 5:30 to 6 every day was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and 6 to 6:30 was Batman. You know the Batman with Adam West? Anyway, back to our story. Michelangelo. So he took his block of marble away as well. They come back in 2 weeks and they all have the elephants, and the king's examining them and he's touching them and he's like, yeah, this is okay, but the trunk's a bit wonky, and this is okay, but a bit too sharp, needs to be a bit more smooth. So he's kind of examining all the elephants, gets to Michelangelo's elephant, and it looks so real. And the king almost falls for it. He goes, Michelangelo, you brought a real elephant. I told you to bring a sculpture. He goes, no, he said, this is what I made. He goes, really? And he goes and touches it, and it's indeed stone, but it looks so real. And he goes, how did you do it? How did you take a block of marble and come up with an elephant? And he said, my king, it was very simple. All I did was take a chisel and a hammer and take away everything that was not elephant. Very simple but very profound answer. So you see, the thing is, what you said is right. and what Roshan said is right, is that we're all spiritual beings, and we're covered by all these gunky, mucky things. And the process of Krishna consciousness is like a chisel. Okay? And your hammer is your practice of Krishna consciousness. And with your practice, you have to slowly take away all these other things till it's just the soul. Okay, soul, pure soul. What does that look like? I don't know. But the process is we're already pure, but we need to take away all these other coverings, all these other contaminations we've accumulated remember when you were a mosquito, pig, eagle, cow, dog, all of that, or many human lives, we've accumulated a lot of things, so all that needs to go. So that is a process of Krishna consciousness that we need to do, that will sort of lead us to purity. Okay? Now in the books, purity is defined in many, many different ways. What does purity mean? Now, here's an example. Okay, once upon a time, Srila Prabhupada was, he asked one of his disciples to do something. Okay, I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's not so relevant. He said, but he couldn't do it for whatever reason. So he came and he told Prabhupada, asked him, did you do this? And he said, no, Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada said, why? And he said, Prabhupada, because I didn't have time. Why did you not have time? Prabhupada, because I had so many things I had to do. Why did you have so many things to do? He goes, Prabhupada, because all the other devotees, they had gone out on Sankirtan and I had to kind of cover all their services. And Prabhupada just kept going, why? And then he was really strong as well. So ultimately, it came to a point when this devotee ran out of answers. And then he was almost at the verge of tears. And he told Srila Prabhupada, he goes, Prabhupada, because I'm not a pure devotee like you. And then Prabhupada went, why are you not a pure devotee?
Oh my gosh.
So why are you not a pure devotee? Okay. Now, it's funny, but at the same time, there's a very important point there that Prabhupada is making. It's not that Prabhupada doesn't have what you call proprietorship over purity, in the sense that Prabhupada's not saying that, look, I'm the only pure guy here, all of you fallen souls, you're all below me, and you'll never become pure. That's not what Prabhupada's saying. Prabhupada also didn't bring this amazing process of Krishna consciousness that doesn't work. Okay, there's no point practicing a process if it's not going to work. It has to work, right? The Bhakti Yoga process has to work. So Prabhupada's point there was, anybody can be a pure devotee. Why are you not a pure devotee? So he's trying to make a point, because sometimes we have this concept in our mind that there's Prabhupada who's pure, who's, who is who he is, but who am I? I'm just a fallen soul. And in our mind, we sort of have this belief that we will never become pure. It's like a hidden belief in our mind. We can try, we'll do a little bit of what we can, but we're never really going to become pure, isn't it? We think sometimes, but that's not the case. Because the process of Krishna consciousness can make you pure. That is why it's there. If it didn't, what's the point of having a process? You might as well, chant 5 rounds or chant when you like, because it doesn't work anyway. It has to work. Now, how is purity defined? So I was doing some research, and I found different definitions of what purity is and how one can be pure. Now, one of the things, I think some of the things we addressed anyway over here. Now, one of the things that came is, this is all from Prabhupada's lectures and Prabhupada's conversations and different things Prabhupada said over time. Okay, so I did research on Vedabase to find what things Prabhupada defined as pure. And I found something very interesting, which I'll share with you. So one of the things I found with Prabhupada, based on his quotes, he said, pure means someone who fulfills the desires of the Lord. Okay, this is what Prabhupada said. He who fulfills the desires of the Lord, he is pure. So not his own desires, but desires of the Lord. Another definition Prabhupada gave based on the same thing, he said, he has no other desire. Okay, like Sonal was saying, he has no other desire. His only desire is to serve Krishna and fulfill his desire. He has no other desire. Another thing he also said is that he has no material desire. Okay, his desires are all spiritual. So it is okay to have spiritual desires. It's not that one has to be completely desire free and become like a void, just not desiring anything and just kind of lying around on your sofa and eating potato chips all day. That's not, it doesn't mean you can't have any desires. You can have spiritual desires, but it all should be focused on Krishna. So one definition of pure was based on desire, which means your intent, right? What's your intent? If your intent is pure, you may not be so perfect in your actions. Your desire may be, I want to serve Krishna only, nobody else. But you may not be able to do it properly because there's so many other things getting in the way, because we are imperfect, we make mistakes. That's all okay. But as long as your desire is pure, that means he's pure. That's what Prabhupada said. Another definition that Prabhupada gave that I found, this is what Prabhupada says. One who is firmly convinced that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. He is said to be pure. One who is firmly convinced that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. Now, some people have a problem with the word servant. Okay? We have a problem. We don't want to serve because we think serving leads to exploitation. Interestingly, if you think about it, if you analyze the service attitude a bit more, you'll notice that in fact service is the only thing that could technically bring you happiness long term. Okay? When you say it's Christmas, and what makes you more happy? When you give somebody a gift and you see them happy, or if somebody gives you a gift, what makes you more happy? Giving, right? Giving. Generally, if you notice in your own actions, generally, the more you give, the happier you'll become. The more you get, you'll become frustrated over time, you'll become upset, you'll become selfish, and you develop qualities that will not make you happy. But the more you give, generally you'll become happy. That's how it works. That's like the blanket rule of this world. Okay, rule number 101, spirituality 101 is, if you want to be happy, you have to serve. Getting things will make you happy in the short term, but that's material life based, but giving is what makes you happy, so serving. But you can't serve anybody and everybody because they may exploit you. The only person who is perfect is Krishna. So it is said that one who is firmly convinced that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he is pure. That was one definition. Now the third definition I found, so which were the first two? Do you remember? One definition, first definition was? Has no other desire, or desire based, pure intention. Second one was? No material desire. Yeah, so that is all desire based. But the second one? Yeah, one who is firmly convinced that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he is pure. The third one is based on practice. And this is very interesting. Okay, this is the sort of definition that gives me hope in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada said, if one follows a pure devotee, then he is pure. Interesting. He says, if you follow a pure devotee, then you are pure. So if you want to be pure, you don't need to be perfect. Sometimes we associate, like Roshan said, his name is Roshan, just in case. Just like Roshan said, pure, it doesn't mean perfect. Pure can mean your desires are pure. Pure can mean you understand your position perfectly. But pure can also mean that you're following the pure devotee. And as long as you're following the pure devotee, it means you're pure. So, we know Prabhupada is a pure devotee. How do we know that? Because he followed a pure devotee. Okay, he followed the instructions of his spiritual master. Okay, and of course there are other ways as well, we know. But definitely because he came to the West, he did whatever he did in his whole life. Even in India, everything, he was trying to open the League of Nations. I don't know if you spoke about it. League of Devotees. Not League of Nations. That really went down the drain, didn't it? Well, United Nations ain't so united either.
No.
That's not really working, isn't it? Anyway, League of Devotees, but in Jhansi, yeah, in 1954 or something. So he tried, Prabhupada, even in India he was trying, he was printing books, he was distributing books, he was trying, and even in the West he tried. So his whole life was based around fulfilling that one instruction that he got in his first meeting. Okay? And he was a pure devotee, and if we follow what Prabhupada said, then we will also be pure devotee. You may not be perfect devotees yet. Okay? The practice of Krishna consciousness will make you perfect in course of time, and that is also possible. Now that takes time, but you can be pure devotees if you follow a pure devotee. Another thing Prabhupada also mentions is this is what's given. Devotees who are strictly following the Krishna conscious principles are acting on the liberated platform, and as such are pure devotees, even though they may not actually yet be liberated. Do you see what it says? It says who are strictly following Krishna conscious principles are pure even though they may not be liberated. So sometimes we also tend to confuse pure with liberated. They're two different things. You can be pure, but you may not be still liberated yet. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhava ki jai, Shri Nrsimha Bhagwan ki jai, Shri Varahadev ki jai. Varahadev? Is it Varahadev? Jashila? Is it Varahadev? It is Varahadev.
Yeah, and then has a Giriraj next.
And a Giriraj. Did you notice them? There's a Giriraj and there's a Varaha Shila as well. And
With one
Nrsimha
eye.
as well.
With one eye facing up.
Facing up, yeah.
One eye facing up.
Varaha Shaligram Shila. So, you can be pure. All you have to do is follow the pure devotee. It is possible. There is a difference between pure and liberated. Liberated means, what does the word liberated mean to you? Free. Free from what? Triguna. Which is? Free. He's on a transcendental platform, so he's beyond goodness, passion and ignorance. Yes, Smita.
Yeah, liberation is free from the cycle of birth and death.
Free from the cycle of birth and death, indeed. It means, can you have liberated devotees on this planet? Yes, you can. Because they're not going to take birth again. They're liberated from that cycle. Even though they're here, they're not going to take birth again. Or at least, they're not going to take birth forced by the laws of nature. They may take birth again if Krishna asks them to take birth again for the sake of preaching. Or they may take birth again because they want to preach Krishna consciousness, but they're not forced by the laws of nature to take birth again. So they're still liberated and they can be here. So you can have a liberated devotee, Prabhupada, who is around, who's not forced to take birth. So you can have pure, liberated, transcendental devotees on this planet. Now, can you name any other liberated devotees?
But how do you know he's liberated?
Yeah, we'll come to that in a second. We'll come to that. We're still on pure. We're getting to liberated in a second. Who is that?
Pragna.
Yes, we'll come to you in a second. Okay. How do we? Can you think of any other devotees, pure devotees?
Maybe Hanuman.
Or Hanuman, yes, Hanuman. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Okay. Prahlad Maharaj, yes. Meera, yes.
Bali Maharaj.
Bali Maharaj. Mother Yashoda, she's eternally liberated. Dhruva Maharaj, yes. So there are so many liberated devotees. Now I'll tell you something I found very interesting. I didn't actually find. This is the interesting bit in my research that I did, and I don't know, maybe this is there in Shastra, but from what Prabhupada said as a definition of a pure devotee, I didn't find any definitions that Prabhupada gave on pure devotees, which is based on qualities. Interesting. It doesn't say that a pure devotee has all these qualities. Yes, there are 26 qualities of a devotee. Okay, that's something else. But what I found from all these definitions, Prabhupada never says that a pure devotee means somebody who has these qualities in full, or something like that. Prabhupada's definitions on purity were always, from the research I did, unless I missed something out, were always based on desire, means whose desire is pure, whose motive is pure, are based on what they consider their position to be as an eternal servant of Krishna, and then somebody who follows a pure devotee. The definitions on qualities come in for another reason. Okay, they come in for liberated devotees and transcendental devotees. That's when the qualities come in. So if you read chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna a question. He says, what are the qualities of a sthita pragya? Sthita pragya means somebody who is fixed in the transcendental position. And then these are the last sort of 12-15 verses of chapter 2, where Krishna goes and defines, gives all the qualities of what it means to be a fixed up, sthita pragya. Okay, somebody who's fixed. So these qualities, and then there are qualities of a devotee, 26 qualities of a devotee, and somebody who is liberated has these qualities in full. So sometimes it is said that, well, how do you know? Like the question Mataji asked at the back. What's your name? Pragna. Yeah, Pragna Mataji asked a very good question. How do you know somebody is liberated? Isn't it? If they're just walking around here, I could come and tell you, hey, I'm liberated. Okay, what do you think? How would you know? What would your test be to see if I'm liberated or not?
You are no gay.
Huh? What? Sorry, what? I didn't hear that.
You are on the path.
I'm on the path. Well, how do you know I couldn't be liberated? How do you know I'm not?
Your qualities.
Qualities. Very good. Very good answer. That's the answer I was looking for. What qualities do you see in me? You're saying there's something wrong? Okay. Oh, that's it's a controversial blow. No, you don't have to be a brahmachari to be liberated. You can be liberated. Prahlad Maharaj wasn't a brahmachari. Dhruva Maharaj wasn't a brahmachari. Bali Maharaj wasn't a brahmachari. There's so many devotees who are liberated, but not brahmachari. But the first answer you gave was correct. Qualities. So you may not know who is liberated just by looking at them. It's not like they float over the ground, or there's like always a halo behind them or something wherever they walk. Or, it's not that there is a list somewhere, like a book, where there's a list of liberated devotees, you just go and check the telephone directory or something. So there's lots of things like that. But there should be a way of us, like fallen souls like me anyway. I don't know if you are or not, so I'm not saying me and you, but me. So there should be a way of us telling, otherwise you could get cheated. You could get cheated. So Krishna says, and that's why Arjuna asks Krishna the question, how do you know? What are the qualities? Because you need to know. So if you study the qualities, then you can tell if somebody is liberated or not based on the qualities they have. Okay? So you answered your own question that you asked Pragna.
Thank you.
So you answered your question. Thank yourself.
You made that clarity by discussing this.
Yeah. Okay, good. So far so good?
Yeah.
Okay, now what I wanted to do is say maybe last 10 minutes or something, and then we can take some questions, is we have Prabhupada here. Now from the stories that you heard, Nishkinchana Prabhu very nicely sort of explained about Srila Prabhupada, I just wanted to see what quality that you see in Srila Prabhupada that inspires you and that sets him apart. It may be you can express that quality based on like a certain pastime that Prabhupada had, or you can mention like some achievements that he had, or just his interaction with people or something like that. What quality of Srila Prabhupada inspires you? Or what do you think is an amazing quality that he had in it? So we could go around the room, maybe some of you can say a few things. My wife can go first.
I was thinking kindness.
Okay,
And
why?
obviously at the Nana recently we had Rukmini Mataji, who's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and she told me an instruction that Prabhupada gave to one of his disciples, and he said to one of his disciples, I want you to go where I can't go. And then this disciple was thinking like, well, where is this? Prabhupada's travelling everywhere. Where can I go where Prabhupada can't go? And then Prabhupada said, I want you to go into the Krishna loves them. And I just thought that was such a profound instruction. And when I hear pastimes of Srila Prabhupada and how he expresses his kindness in different ways, whether it's tough love or not. But Prabhupada was extremely kind on so many levels, and I think that really stands out to me.
Thank you. Kindness. Okay, somebody I know at the back there raised a hand. Was it you? Yes, go on.
Yeah, just that he could start such a big journey of transformation at such a late age. A lot of us think, oh God, I'm now 65, it's too late. But look, what a difference he made to present and future generations, even at such a late age. So we shouldn't let age or health or other things hold us back. That's very inspiring.
Thank you. That is like, what's the retirement age in France? 65, isn't it now? After a lot of 65 in France.
Yeah, but
65, yeah. After a lot of hoo-ha going on over the last few months, it's 65, and in England it's like 67.
It's already beyond 65.
It's going to get later and later. I think at some point in the future the retirement age will be like 100. You'll be dead before you get your pension.
Oh my God,
that's keep going back and back. It was 60 at one point, I know, and then it went to 65 and 67 and but 67. And when did Prabhupada go to the West? 69. Okay, but past his retirement age. He was retiring in Vrindavan, that's where we want to go, but that's when Prabhupada started the movement. In the Forbes magazine, Prabhupada is listed as one of the top 50 people who started a business over the age of 50 and was highly successful. Okay. Top 10 actually, one of the top 10. Started a business after the age of 50. Now, it's transcendental business, but business nonetheless. So they see it in, like a business, but even in terms of material accomplishments, that is a very big thing to do. What to speak of a spiritual thing that he did. So amazing at the age of, and he didn't stop till he was like 80, isn't it? 81. He was going, not till the last breath. If you see, there is a video of Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan of the time when he sort of leaves his body, and even like 10 seconds before he's still translating the Bhagavatam and giving instructions to his disciples, so till the last minute. So that is, I think, a remarkable thing. So yeah, thank you. Who else? Yes,
Yeah, he was persistent. He didn't give up. He carried on in his path, and he carried on. He didn't stop anywhere. He just carried on.
Nothing could stop him, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Like in India, when he used to, buy paper. He used to go, he used to do all the typesetting and everything himself. He used to himself go to the book publishers to get it published and printed, and then he used to himself distribute them as well, going from one tea stall to the next shop. Yeah. And I think once he was even gored by a bull in Delhi, in like the hot atmosphere, and he was just lying on the side of the road. But that didn't stop him,
He was trying to sell the Godhead booklet.
Yeah.
And somebody knocked on the door and he promised him to buy it. And I think he went, and he waited there all day to sell it. He wanted that 6 rupees or whatever it was.
5 rupees
at that time, 5 something. And he waited.
Yeah, he knocked on the door and he said, "Yeah, I'll give you later."
Yeah, later. Yeah.
And then he was waiting. Then one of his godbrothers was cycling past, and he saw him. And then he saw him waiting, and he came back a few hours later, and he was still waiting. He said, "Why are you still waiting?" He goes, "Well," he says, "so he's going to take the book and he's going to give me 5 rupees." He goes, "I'll give you 5 rupees. It's paining me to see you standing in this heat. I'll give you 5 rupees." He goes, "No, it's not about you, and it's not about the money, but he's the one who needs the book." So Prabhupada waited. He was persistent. You need persistence, isn't it? Yeah, I think he did. He had to. I don't think. Otherwise, Prabhupada would still be there. But even today, he would be there. But he came to the West, so obviously. Anybody else want to share something? Wow, so many hands going up.
I don't know if it's a quality, maybe not the right word, but profound in the sense that you could say little, but it says a lot.
Okay. Yeah, very. power-packed,
Powerful.
powerful, profound, yeah. Yeah, very, very powerful instructions Prabhupada gave. Did you have your hand up?
I said he was the
Yes.
He followed his Guru Master, Guru Maharaj very sincerely and did everything as he wanted. So that was another quality.
That's amazing. You see, this is the one thing people, you follow your spiritual master and then you're okay. You're in safe hands because your spiritual master followed his spiritual master and he followed his spiritual master. So you can't go wrong there. That is something you need to do. So that's, yeah, and Prabhupada did that, exemplified that. Thank you. There's somebody at the back, Divya Drishyam.
Yeah, I think brave and fearless.
Brave and fearless.
Like how when we went to New York, we just went to the Bowery. We could have gone somewhere uptown and gone another way, but we just went into those areas.
Yeah. That's very interesting, fearless, because Prabhupada once said that. Once he was chanting, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, one of the reporters, what happens when you chant Hare Krishna? And Prabhupada said, he could have said anything, but he said, when I chant Hare Krishna, I feel no fear. He goes, and that's why he had so much faith in chanting Hare Krishna, he could go anywhere and do anything. This, you should read this book that what's his name, Yogeshwar Prabhu wrote, Swami in a Strange Land. And it's a biography of Srila Prabhupada, and there's a description of Prabhupada in France. And it's very interesting, he's meeting this person of like high ranking, very high ranking. It's almost like, like from the royal class or somebody. And they have to rehearse it beforehand, and it's like, okay, this person's going to come in from here, and Prabhupada stands up, he shakes his hand, and then, this happens, that happens, and then he sits down and da-da-da-da-da. And anyway, so Prabhupada like, yeah, whatever. And then the time comes and he's sitting down, and then this guy comes escorted by his royal guards and everything, and Prabhupada is just sitting there. And then the guy who went through it, he's like getting like agitated. He's like, no, you can't. This is like, imagine it's like, it's like Charles comes, King Charles, and he's like sitting there. He's like, what? So Prabhupada's just sitting there, and then the other guy's like trying to tell him, get your Swami to stand up. He goes, I'm not going to tell him to stand up, he's my spiritual master, And then Prabhupada's just sitting there and he's like, I'm going to stand up for you. It's like he just sat there, and then eventually that guy came and like he shook his hand and kind of things moved on. And he just didn't stand up.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, and rightly so, he's like this, he's the one who's there to deliver the universe. You ask him to stand up. Yeah, very good. Any others? There were lots of hands. Yeah, go on.
Humble. So someone mentioned yesterday, which actually clicked, was that everywhere around the world people have heard of ISKCON and Krishna consciousness because of him, but they don't really know much about him. So if he didn't make the movement about him and what he's brought to the world and to the Western world, it's more about spreading Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. And Prabhupada also never took credit. He always said that I'm only just trying to serve my spiritual master. I'm trying to serve my spiritual master, and I'm only here because of his blessings. And in fact, Srila Prabhupada even told his disciples that, my spiritual master is sending you guys to have me. He said, so he never took credit. Even though he did something no one could have done, he never took credit for it. Anything else? Somebody else?
Yeah, he was selfless.
Selfless, yeah.
This is a great point.
Any other sort of why do you think he was selfless?
I mean, like for example, you said a bit about where he's living in a comfortable place in India. People want to go on holiday and stuff like that. I mean, this is a basic example, but like he could have just had a nice life and not bothered. I mean, actually, he's 69 years old and he's decided to. So yeah, he put others before himself basically. So that's a great quality to have.
Definitely. Anything else?
It was simple.
Simple.
Simple, but really high, like in quality, in his thought process.
Yeah.
He was like almost, you could almost say that the quality of being stubborn is very high in Srila Prabhupada's quality. Like he was stubborn because he was doing things for Krishna.
Yeah.
And for that reason he was really high in his thinking. But not stubborn in a negative way.
Yeah.
Stubborn because he wouldn't give up for Krishna.
Yeah.
And that's why he was stubborn.
Yeah.
You give up for anything else.
Determined.
Determined.
You see, the thing is, that's why purity is defined based on intent.
Yeah.
You see, because your intention is to serve Krishna. So any quality that you have can be used in Krishna's service. You can be really angry in Krishna's service, and Prabhupada often gave the example of Hanuman, that he became so angry that he burnt down Lanka, but he did it all in Krishna's service. So any quality is not a bad quality as long as you can engage it in Krishna's service. So yeah, even if you're stubborn, if you can be stubborn to serve Krishna, then why not? Prabhupada also had this, I find, he had this amazing ability to sort of really reach within a person, like almost a therapist does, you know, and just address that rather than the question that they're asking. And he did that many times. People, because sometimes people would, this is very good pastime from Bhaktivedanta Manna. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but I'll tell you that he was sitting on the lawn. Just if you go up in Prabhupada's rooms at the Manna, and if you look out through the window, the lawn you see, that's right in front of the reception. So there's some photographs taken from there. And Prabhupada's just sitting there with some of his disciples, and once what happened was a reporter came there, and he was asking Prabhupada questions. And he was slightly a little bit skeptical and sort of envious as well, this reporter guy. And he asked Prabhupada, he said, so, you know, I see you guys chanting in the streets all day. He goes chanting and dancing. And all I ever see you doing is just chant and dance all day. And you guys don't seem to do any work. Like, you guys do any work? Because he's like, yes, just chanting and dancing. And Prabhupada said, he said, no, why should we work? Because our father is the richest man in the universe. Because if I'm the son of a rich man, why would I work? Referring to Krishna, of course, he's the richest man. And then Prabhupada really wanted to address that mentality. So Prabhupada said, so he goes, you work as a reporter? He goes, yes. He goes, so do you think if you work your whole life, you'll be able to buy a house like this? And he said, no. He goes, and we don't even work and we have it. So Prabhupada would really pinpoint, you couldn't get away with certain anomalies in your heart. Any other things? Or if you have any, Himani.
Just his unflinching, based on what Prabhu said earlier, and even after what she said earlier, in terms of persistence, but also his unflinching devotion, despite so many challenges, whether it was, fighting for the land in Juhu, or even when he was making the first kind of journey into the West on that boat on the Jaladutta, he suffered 3 heart attacks, and yet his faith was still stronger than ever, and especially at such a delicate age.
Yeah.
For him to actually go through so much and suffer so much, and yet still have that faith, because he was only going there based on the instructions of his Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
So unflinching faith to Krishna and devotion to his spiritual master.
Yeah, definitely. Very good. Now, I want to say one thing, that there was one instruction that Srila Prabhupada, if you do some research, I like to do these researches on database and stuff. If you do some research, you'll find one instruction that Prabhupada gave every single year, from 1965 to 66, all the way up to 77. He gave one instruction every single year. Do you know what that was? He said, all of you, my disciples, should become a spiritual master. He said, all of you, not just my disciples, he said, all of you should become a spiritual master. And the point he was trying to say was that, it doesn't mean officially be a spiritual teacher. Yes, if you can do that, great. But even otherwise, we should take on that role to sort of teach others and help others in the way that he did. At least fulfill that role of a spiritual master, teaching people and sharing Krishna consciousness. Why am I speaking from here today? It could be any of you. It could be anybody. I'm nothing special. I've just been around and I read a few books, but you also been around and you read a few books. So you could speak as well. And in fact, we all should. We all should. And that is the whole idea. I'm not any better than you, or it's not that I know more than you. I know that a lot of you know a lot more than I do. But the point is, and everybody, all of us, need to take on that role to share Krishna consciousness with others. And it is important, because that's how the movement spreads. That is why it's called a movement, because it moves. If it doesn't move, if you have a movement that doesn't move, then it's an oxymoron. And then we'll all be morons, being in a movement that doesn't move. So we need to take up Krishna consciousness and share it with others. That was one instruction Srila Prabhupada gave to everybody. Yes?
Can I have a little bit of clarity on something else?
Sure.
So the 4 principles,
Yeah.
No meat, fish, chicken, eggs.
Oh, I'm glad you had a chicken in there as well. No, I'm just saying, because meat includes chicken, isn't it? But you added it separately.
Like no fish, flesh, fowl sort of thing. No fish, flesh, fowl. And garlic onions.
Yeah.
And then that's the first one. No
Yeah.
intoxication.
Yeah.
Second, third, no illicit sex.
Mm-hmm.
And number 4 was?
No gambling.
No gambling.
Oh, no gambling, right. And then can you clarify Tamasic, Rajasic and Sattvic? And that comes under what?
So they're 3 qualities of the modes of material nature. That's a whole different story. That's not one of the 4 principles.
No, so that's the modes of material nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're things that we're influenced by and things that we express. So that's something else. That's a whole 2-hour seminar.
You can join the Gita Life course now.
You can join the Gita Life course, which is starting in June with Sankirtan Priya's teaching.
No.
Somebody else is teaching. You can join the course and it's a good course.
The next retreat.
He was really protective, Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
Like a lion to his cubs.
Okay.
Like I read in Yamuna Devi's book, how he really protected, somebody had upset him, I can't remember the exact words, had upset her, and Prabhupada came in like a storm, and he just completely protected over her, and those people that had upset her just totally, they never came back again. So he was like a lion to his cubs, you know.
Yeah.
Really protect. He was kind but protective.
Okay. Any other things, Mother?
His tirelessness and how he taught everyone step by step how to do this bhakti and to reach Krishna.
Yeah.
And the amount of books he's written and to write them in such a short space of time,
Yeah.
with the level of detail that someone could start from nothing
Yeah.
and progress, and with the amount of giving people the motivation through his writings,
Yeah.
and yet set up so much.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. Like, I mean, who writes 80 books? I mean, I don't know, blinking Harry Potter lady hasn't written 80. She's written a lot, but I don't know any other author who's written 80 books. Who writes 80 books? Huh? And yeah, and translations and stuff. If you put all these things together, that devotee was saying it took him 40 years to read, like all of that. And Prabhupada wrote everything in like 10 years. Takes us longer to read. At one point, Prabhupada was writing when he was translating and stuff. He was translating faster than they could publish the books. They were like way behind. They had like loads of manuscripts piling up because Prabhupada was translating so fast, and everything after midnight, isn't it? A lot of it Prabhupada used to. Prabhupada's schedule. He used to meet people during the day. He used to go to bed at 9 or 10 and wake up at midnight. He used to wake up at midnight and translate books, and then go straight to Mangalati at 4:30. He rested like 2 hours a day.
Wow, he doesn't sleep much.
Didn't sleep much at all. And then his disciples will tell you when he used to go on a morning walk, people would struggle to catch up with him. People, he would walk so fast. Once he had a heart attack in New York, and the doctor told him that, you guys are not doing any exercise. He said, Swami, you're not doing any exercise. So you should do some exercise. What should I do? He said, you should walk. Fine. Walk. He took that advice from a mundane doctor seriously and used to walk every day. And Prabhupada also, like, another thing about humility as well, is that Prabhupada, even though he was like the Acharya of the whole Krishna consciousness movement, he would see how he would take advice from anybody if it was something that was important, because he would see it as Krishna speaking through that person to him. And a classic example that I tend to think is when he was in the London temple, when the installation was going on, the installation of the deities. And I think you can read about it more in the Chasing Rhinos book. I think it's there in the Prabhupada Lilamrita as well, in detail. That there were a lot of things going wrong in that sort of deity installation, and there were like pillars falling off, and then things weren't ready, and Prabhupada single-handedly caught a pillar from falling and held it up. And there were a lot of things going wrong then. They hadn't got the Abhishek juice, and they hadn't got things ready, and there's like all these reporters ready, filming everything. And it's like, and he's getting really stressed out, like, what's going on? We invited all these press people here, and then nothing's ready, and he's like, and then one hippie from the audience just goes, hey Swami, relax, just chant Hare Krishna. Krishna Prabhupada. And the Prabhupada goes, fair point. And he just put his hand in his bead bag and started chanting. Simple advice. Yes, Mataji.
Another quality I think Srila Prabhupada had, he was very bold. He didn't, obviously fearlessness, as we talked about.
Yeah.
But like the subject of saying that you don't have to worship demigods, only worship Krishna, and things like that. They are quite a bold step, because nobody else could have done that,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of people came to please the masses. They would give people what they wanted, but not give them the other things, because they were afraid that people wouldn't like them.
Yeah.
But Prabhupada didn't compromise. And I think one time somebody even told him that Prabhupada, instead of 4 regulative principles, if we had 3, I tell you which 4th one. Well, I won't tell you which 4th one they asked to leave out. You know which one. He said, if we just have 3, we would get a lot more people joining. And then Prabhupada said, you know what he said? He said, I'm not here to please the Americans. He said, I'm here to establish Krishna consciousness in its purest form. So he said, and I think that's when he also made that famous statement that even if you get 1 moon, it's better than so many rascal stars. He said 1 moon. It's good to have a few sincere people than just get a mass of people who are not really doing anything, just not even following properly. So he said, better to get a few people like that. So it's very bold indeed. He didn't change. He kept Krishna consciousness pure. Whereas if you see, a lot of other movements didn't do that. And you see, outside of ISKCON, even some Gaudiya Vaishnava movements haven't done that. And even outside of Gaudiya Vaishnavas and many other spiritual movements that came out of India, they didn't do that, and they've grown very big as well, some of them. And Prabhupada also knew that they would as well if they didn't. But he still chose to stick to the purest form of Krishna consciousness. So very good. It is 12:30, so I think there is going to be Aarti now, isn't it? Is there Aarti now?
Yeah, no night.
Yeah, so I think we should stop. But I hope this was a session where we all learnt a little bit. I learnt a lot of things from you, and I hope you learned something as well from this, and I think we had a good discussion. But hope it wasn't too much. But thank you all for coming. And I think next time we should all do this. Isn't it? We can all speak what we know. We don't have to be an expert orator or expert speaker or anything. We should all speak whatever we know to whatever people you feel comfortable speaking to. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda Madhava ki jai. Shri Gorintai ki jai. Shri Krishna Balarama ki jai. Jai. Radha Guru ki jai.